Hello, good evening. This is a continuation of our class, our lectures on worldwide economic integration. We have already had part one, where we started with NAFTA, North America Free Trade Area, and we moved all the way to European Union. And then this last part, we are going to handle the Asian nations, and then a bit of African nations. So then after this, we are going to go back to Africa and concentrate on regional economic integrations in Africa. Today we are starting with the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, commonly abbreviated as ASEAN. ASEAN has a population of about 655 million people, with a GDP of about 1.3 trillion and membership of about 10 members. And it was started in 1967. ASEAN was founded on 8th August 1967 with 5 member states: Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand. Its headquarters is in Jakarta in Indonesia. In 2019, the total population of ASEAN states amounted to an estimated 655 million inhabitants. And the member countries are Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. There are 10 in total. The ASEAN represent a population of 655 million and a gross domestic product, GDP, of $3.1 trillion. $3.1 trillion. And this GDP has been growing very, very fast for the last few years because of the thriving economy in this region. The objectives of ASEAN are to promote economic, social, and cultural development, to safeguard economic and political stability, and to serve as a forum to resolve disputes fairly and peacefully. So the first 5 countries formed ASEAN, and later on other countries joined. And as we said before, there are now 10 members. And the adding of Cambodia, Laos, and Myanmar was an effort to counter China's resources of cheap labor and abundant raw materials. So that is ASEAN. It's a huge economic cooperation in that in the eastern part, East and Southern Asia. It's a huge one. It's, however, followed by another cooperation called APEC, Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation. This is an economic group of 21 members. It was formed in 1989 with the primary goal of promoting free trade and sustainable development in the Pacific Rim economies. It has a total population of 2.9 billion, 38% of the world population. And the membership we'll give you in a second. APEC was created in response to the increasing interdependence of Asia-Pacific economies and the proliferation of regional economic blocs such as the European Union. So it was created because there are many other blocs that were being created and was and growing fast. So the members of APEC are, the founding members were Australia, Brunei, Canada, Indonesia, Japan, Korea, Malaysia, New Zealand, the Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and the US. And since its launch, China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Mexico, Papua New Guinea, Chile, Peru, Russia, and Vietnam have joined its ranks. That now makes 21 members. APEC refers to its members as economies rather than states due to the disputed status of Taiwan and Hong Kong. China does not believe that Taiwan and Hong Kong can be sovereign states. They consider Taiwan and Hong Kong as provinces of mainland China. Although the members of the Organization for APEC account for more than half of the world trade, members of this organization, APEC, account for more than half of the world trade. This is huge. It incorporates the US, Canada, it incorporates China, and the other states in East Asia. That is definitely a huge economic bloc, very huge. 21 members and 21 strong. Many of them are strong economies. It's definitely a big bloc, counting for about half of the world trade. So that leaves almost half of the other one, the European Union and Africa. So now, APEC is not designed as a free trade bloc. It's not designed as a free trade bloc, but it tries to strengthen multilateral trading system and expand the global economy by simplifying and liberalizing trade and investment procedures. It's not a bloc in the true sense of the word where we talk about economic integration because of the dispersed nature of the membership. The members don't have a common boundary. Most of the members don't share a common boundary. You can imagine US, you can imagine Canada, you can imagine Mexico, and all the other members in the other side of the Pacific joining with members on this side of the Pacific up to China. So it's a huge bloc, but it is not a free trade area. It's not a free trade bloc. It's just a cooperation which helps them to promote multilateral trade and to increase liberalization and investment procedures. However, it was hoped that it will become a free trade. It hoped for complete free trade and investment throughout the region by 2020. APEC has been fundamental in reducing tariffs, improving customs efficiency, and closing the gap between developing and developed countries. Okay, so the third set that we're looking at today are, there's a group called Closer Economic Relations Agreement, made up of two members, Australia and New Zealand. So this economic relations agreement is commonly known as CER, or just Closer Economic Relation, and it is a free trade agreement between the governments of New Zealand and Australia. It was started in 1983, and currently it has a GDP of $1.7 trillion, $1.7 trillion, and a population of 30 million. CER agreement is one of the most comprehensive bilateral trade agreements in existence. It covers substantially all trans-Tasmanian trade in goods, including agricultural products, and was the first to include free trade in services. The agreement's central provision is the creation of WTO consistent free trade area, encompassing Australia and New Zealand. CER eliminated all tariffs and quotas in 1990, which was actually 5 years ahead of their schedule. They eliminated all tariffs and quotas by 1990. They had projected that they would do that by 1995, but by 1990 they had eliminated all tariffs and quotas. So each nation allows goods and most services sold in other nations to be sold within its borders. And each country recognizes the professional certifications of people allowed to practice in the other country. That's the third set. The fourth set is the Middle East. Particularly, we're looking at the Gulf Cooperation Council. Gulf Cooperation Council. It has 6 member states. Its aim is economic and political, to allow free travel without visas, to allow cooperation on property rights. It has a population of about 54 million and a GDP of $1.6 trillion. The members are brought together to cooperate with increasing powerful trading blocs in Europe. And the members are Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates. This group allows members to travel freely among the member nations, and it allows citizens to own businesses and other property in other nations without local partners. Finally, Africa. We shall deal with Africa in details in the consequent lectures, but today we just mention briefly about Africa, and we are only going to mention about ECOWAS, Economic Community of West African States, and then we'll mention something about the African Union, and then in the consequent lectures we'll look at the so many economic integration blocks in Africa. There are so many. The East African Community, SADC, Southern African Development Coordination Conference. They have ECOWAS itself. We have CENSAD. We have a COMESA, and so on and so on. We'll look at that in detail. ECOWAS has 15 members, and it tends to form an eventual common market and a monetary union. Very close. It achieved some early progress, but suffers from political instability, poor governance, weak national economies, poor infrastructure, and poor economic policy. By 2002, it had 53 members. It was formed in 2002. It aims to eliminate the vestiges of colonialism and apartheid and to promote unity and solidarity, as well as intensify development cooperation, safeguard member sovereignty, and promote international cooperation within the United Nations. The African Union, just in brief, African Union constitutes the world's 11th largest economy with a nominal GDP of $2.6 trillion. Here we've written $2.6 trillion. When you measure the GDP by purchasing power parity, the African Union's economy comes to $1.5 trillion, ranking it the 11th after Russia. So the purpose of African Union was to forge a united and strong Africa, to seek peace, security, and stability. And as we said before, the total population of the African Union is 1.3 billion. So the population of Africa is as big as the population of India right now as we speak, and also close to the population of China. Currently, the African Union is made up of 55 member states, and it represents almost all the countries of Africa.